and let us all do we can to build a better future. Daniel, you got a story for the people. What is going on?
Okay, I got a really interesting story. Hey guys, remember how just a little bit ago, this new president that just came in, this spiffing young man, old guy that's sort of losing his mind, Joe Biden said to everyone and had everyone else in his Democratic Party repeat that $2,000 check is coming your way immediately. That got cut to a $1,400 check is coming at some point, and now we may be looking at the next step. Hey, how about a $1,000 check? How's that sound, everyone? Well, Joe Biden, as you know, background story on this is that he has decided against Bernie Sanders, who's been trying to do the opposite, to he wants to do a budget reconciliation method, which would just need all the people the Democrats currently have and just spank Joe Manchin until he gets in line. And they would have all this stuff passed. Even the currently small bill of 1.9 trillion, considering the suffering Americans are dealing with. He has decided instead, as we've been talking about on the show and lampooning him for the obvious, because this is exactly where it leads. He's decided that he wants to go the option where the filibuster is relevant. And so we begin our story. President Joe Biden will meet with 10 Republican senators Monday as he decides whether to slim his coronavirus relief proposal to win GOP votes or forge ahead with only Democrats, because I thought their entire campaign was saying Republicans are really bad people. But now that it's him in power, it's like, let's talk. Let's talk. It's all about talking. The lawmakers put forward a counter-proposal to Biden's $1.9 trillion rescue package on Sunday. Ready for it? $618 billion plan, which is their counteroffer by the Republicans. Yeah.
I see.
By the way, did you notice that this is right about in between when we did that story with Wall Street and what they thought would be the package would be like $900 billion to $1.1 trillion?
Okay.
If you have a half and half, that center's right in that area. So if they get to say they compromised to meet in the middle, that means Wall Street would have called it.
Yeah.
So just think about that. If we get something around $1 trillion, give or take $100 billion. Anyway, so what would change? Send out a smaller $1,000 direct payment, which starts to phase out at a lower threshold, at a lower $40,000 income threshold. So before it was like $100-something thousand, $1,400.
It was 1,000. Well, okay. Here's the thing. Let me just clarify.
Yes.
Can we get the camera on me? So originally, let's just bring back the clock to Georgia. $2,000 was promised by the Democrats. Remember, they said $2,000. But then as soon as the Democrats won the Senate Georgia runoff, the race that happened in Georgia, the number somehow magically became $1,400 because the $600 was a down payment, at least according to what they were saying. But they were saying $2,000. And I did 2 live streams yesterday, on Saturday and Sunday about how, in fact, look, $2,000 was promised, not $1,400. But now, Daniel, what's the number now?
Again, we're down to 1,000 potentially if he decides to negotiate with Republicans. And what would likely happen? They'd meet in the middle and they get something like 1,200 and say, look at us, pat us on the back, look how great we are.
Compromise.
And the second thing, this was the Republican counteroffer, effectively. Extend $300 per week federal unemployment benefits through June 30th. Put $20 billion into national vaccine program. Inject $20 billion into K-12 schools. Not include any money for state or local governments, which, as they put in here, is a priority. That's basically paying the states back for incurring all the expenses and the stuff that they've been dealing with. We're not having like sales tax really of any kind because of the pandemic that mainly hits citied states that happen to be mostly Democratic. Senator Majority Leader Chucky Boy Schumer, as Kit has beautifully monikered him, dismissed the plan as inadequate and warns that failure to spend now will cause pain in the coming years. As he meets with Republicans, Biden will try to balance a professed desire to walk across the aisle, because remember, Joe Biden working across the aisle is just more important than you getting fed. Just remember that. That's the way things are. So, as CNN would say, Joe Biden is doing a good job at compromising. The fact that we're even here, the fact that all this has been delayed, likely has to do with this entire meeting that Biden's going to do. And just like we've seen every other time in the recent history of America, especially with Clinton, that when the Democrats have a majority, the Republicans get the best concessions they've ever asked for. So, and anyway, so where were we? Previous page. As he meets with the new Republicans, Biden will try to balance a professed desire to work across the aisle with his call to act decisively to mitigate health and economic crisis. By the way, the decisiveness, it's passed. Weeks ago, passed. No longer decisive, in our opinion. I think it's accurate. Let us know in the comments below if you think that Biden cannot be called decisive in any real, meaningful way. Anyway, as the White House holds talks with Republicans, Democrats are now in control of both chambers of Congress, will prepare itself to pass a relief bill without their GOP colleagues. The House plans to move forward this week with the budget reconciliation process, which would allow legislation to get through the Senate with a simple majority. Like the best case scenario that we have right in front of us is that they just go, oops, we're sorry we wasted effectively a month trying to negotiate with Republicans. We're going to give you the still reduced money, the $1.9 trillion, which is already too little, but we're going to give you that. With a few, of course, like pork barrel stuff thrown in there. But this is the reality. They've already failed. Again, this is just like when the coronavirus happened. Everyone's already acted too slow. People are already suffering and going bankrupt. And evicted. So we're going, again, the best case scenario here is in like a month we get $1,400 check. Whereas the original thing that won the Georgia election, by the way, has anyone ever made the point on CNN or something like that isn't it interesting that Georgia was such a close race and then they said they would give everyone $2,000 immediately and all of a sudden they won? And now that those people's votes have been handed in, they're like, and so now it's $1,400 because Trump somehow counts as a down payment, which is the stupidest thing you could possibly say, and then yell at people like us. Because it's weird. We had like a dozen people go, hey, you guys said that they meant 2,000. They obviously meant 1,400 plus 600 from a previous president, even though we have clip after clip of them saying otherwise. And now the real choice is between, do we get the thing that they said they would give us reduced a month after they said they would give it to us, best case scenario, or is Biden going to come back and go, you know what, I wanted to work with the Republicans, so we're going to cut all that in half?
Okay, so I'm just going to keep my comments on this very short. Number one, the Democrats promised $2,000, but I want to rewind back the clock just a little bit further when Trump was still president. Never forget that the Biden administration got involved in that relief package that Trump passed, or at least when he was still president. Originally, our stimulus check was going to be a little bit larger, but they reduced it down to $600. Then Trump, in front of the national press and to the entire world, said the $600 was an insult, calling out all the lawmakers in the United States Senate and House. $2,000. He wanted to do that. Never forget, too, that Donald Trump, as horrible, as ignorant as he is, wanted to do those continuous $1,200 stimulus checks. Now, is $1,200 enough? No, but is it more than what we're being offered now with $1,000? Hell yes, and more than $600 as well. But the only reason why we didn't get continuous stimulus checks is because Nancy Pelosi said in front of the press, in front of the world, in front of everyone, that the reason why she didn't want to do continuous stimulus checks is because she wanted to hurt Trump. I'm going to ask this question to our audience again. We got 766 people in here watching us live right now. And when you watch this video clipped, comment below as well. Type 1 if you think Nancy holding the stimulus checks hurt Trump. Type 2 if you think it hurt working class citizens, people who desperately needed those continuous stimulus checks. Remember, it was Democrat Speaker of the House who was voted in again, Nancy, that put a pause to it.
And also type 3 if both.
Type 3 if both.
And to be fair, type 4 if neither. So actually, yes. People are mentioning in chat that Trump has henceforth given Americans $1,800 total.
Yeah.
With wanting to give something closer to $4,000.
Yeah.
And if it was monthly, even more than that. And Democrats right now are like, $1,400, maybe $1,000. We'll talk to the people that we say we hate.
And never forget, too, and I'll end it at this, that Senator Joe Manchin, a Democrat from West Virginia, Senator Joe Manchin, Democrat, is opposed to stimulus checks.